So, in last week's episode, we were talking about some upholstery being done, and I said I would explain what's going on. Well, let me turn the camera around. Okay, here's where the pilot seat would go, and it's connected and bolted to the airframe in 4 spots. And this is all of the structure that Jan built to keep people's fingers out of stuff and otherwise protect everything that's going on. But underneath here is where our voltage regulators are housed. And so the question became, what happens if something falls down in there? So that's why Monty was building that cover that'll hook to the back of the seat, wherever it is, and it'll be Velcroed to this so that we won't have stuff being able to, somebody drops something inadvertently and it drops down on here. It won't be able to get under the seat and get into the connections on the voltage regulators. And the other thing Monty was working on was a box of fabric, a canvas box around all the connection points for our nose right up here. Well, Jan's reworking that. We discovered some anomalies that we've got to fix. But so we're going to get that done and get this installed, and I'll bring you back and show you what's going on. Matter of fact, I'll walk over. Jan's riveting up his housing. Hold on. So you saw how this looked last week. This is the modifications that Jan's been making. We found that we weren't able to make a good, it was going to be really tight for the connections to go through here. So he's added all of this extra fabrication and a place for to hook up our pitot lines for our airspeed indicators. Anyway, I'll get this installed and we'll see what it looks like. So here's the modified panel installed. It's just temporary. Now Jan's gonna modify the tube that was going up here and going off into space because we didn't know where it would go. He's gonna modify it so we can connect it to these connectors and then these. Now these are the connectors that it'll go to, but those are probably gonna have to be shortened, and then we'll have a flexible tube going to that. So last week we were working on these leading edges and we ran into a problem. I don't know how much you understood about what was going on here, but I got Jan here. Let me turn this camera around. Anyway, so Jan, why don't you go through what we discovered when we were trying to put this leading edge on?
Well, when we put the leading edge on, we found out that we had miscalculated where we put this rib. This rib is going actually in towards the airplane by about 3/16, maybe a quarter of an inch, and it needs to come more this way, as dictated by the part I made here, which matches the leading edge from this hole to this hole over here, which is the same as this hole from here down to here. We didn't do that in the old days. We should have, but we didn't. And so that means that we've got all these parts that are bound up in here tied to this rib. So we need to loosen up whatever we can so we can pull this rib this way and then tighten everything back down. And that means all these clamps all through here. These fittings will just stay, they'll ride with the rib, and I think there's enough flex on the inside that they'll just come this way, but we need to loosen them up along the way here, through here, and all I want is just a quarter of an inch.
And that's why we couldn't put this skin on here. Everything else is essentially done. We'll do the wing root fairings after the airplane is painted, after the wings are painted. We're really closing in on this, and this is one of the last major jobs that we have to do. So give us a minute. We'll see if we can move things around and go from there. Well, we've got the, pretty sure we have all of this worked out. Let me show you what we've done. Okay, so first of all, Jan made this measurement jig that told us exactly where the leading edge needed to go as far as the bolt patterns. So we loosened up everything, and you can see there's a line right here of where we were able to move this rib and keep the pipes so that they were talking to the airplane in order to get, so everything, this rib shifted over and all of the pipes shifted through the fair leads. So we're going to go ahead and take this jig off, and we're finally going to get this leading edge bolted on. What you did a minute ago.
Huh?
I want you to do
So
it.
we'll get up here and we'll have to adjust the skin bolt. I think that's good.
Okay, so what Jan just did, we've got every screw started in this leading edge skin, and it fit really well. And all he did, he just went around and tapped on the surface just to micro adjust everything into place. And now we'll go ahead and tighten up all the screws, and we'll be done with that. So stand by. Okay, that skin is down. All the screws are tight. That's ready to go to paint. The unfortunate part is, after we get this thing flying, every year we're going to take that skin off just to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. That's part of the life of a warbird. It looks great. For my next task, Jan's got this bracket modified. Now I need to take it back down and put all of these connections back in it, and then it'll go back up and be permanent, and then Monty can finish the boot that's going to cover that. Monty can make a canvas tunnel to go around that with our blanket that's going to go here. So I'm sitting here in the cockpit. We've got most everything done. Let me turn the camera around. So we have basically everything done on the wings. There's still a few things we have to do. Like I mentioned in the last video, we have to take off the wingtips. We need to take off the ailerons. It's going to make it easier for the painters to paint those areas. And we also have to put in gap seals in the ailerons. The other thing I need to do is remove the rest of the wing root fairings on both sides. Clean that out, and then they'll be able to cleanly paint the whole wing inside and out. So basically that's all done. We got all the stuff in here tightened back down so that after we got that rib to move. So I've got all the clamps redone here and in here. And so next week we're going to be working on a deal that we've been avoiding. Not really avoiding, there's just been other things that have taken priority. Let me show what we're doing in the cockpit. So you may ask, why have I got this all bagged up and covered up? Well, some months ago we made the decision. Down here in front of the pilot was all the fire extinguisher controls for the engines, which made zero sense. At the time, maybe it did, but it makes much more sense to get them from in front of the pilot to where both pilots can get to it. Well, the new panel is going to take up some different spaces for these ears, so we're going to come up with a different configuration. These ears, most of them, or probably all of them, are going to be probably eliminated, and we'll figure out what we need to do there. So that's coming up next week, and we'll see you then. I appreciate you watching our videos. We got a lot going on. Getting really excited to get this airplane out of the hangar and over to the painters to be painted. If you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate a subscription. Like and share out the videos. We're pretty proud of what we're doing here, and I like people seeing what we've got done and what we're going to do. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.